Great, thank you, Mandy. Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly McGrath. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and I'm happy today for you to join us. I'm here with Rick Mayfield, and we would love to hear any input that we can about the LCAP. So I have a quick presentation to show you some information about what the LCAP is and to ask for your feedback. Looks like we have a small number of participants ready to give us input, but this is also recorded. So we're happy to have it on the website, and people would be able to see the recording and potentially, give their feedback in that way as well. So I will go ahead and share my screen. And I will share with you here. So first of all, LCAP, in education, we tend to have a lot of acronyms. So for this, LCAP means the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan. So what we're going to do is kind of tell you, if you've heard of LCAP before, you may have heard this in the education world, that we typically operate under a local accountability plan. And that is typically what you hear LCAP, and when we say that, that's what we're typically talking about. Our board did have the foresight to adopt the preliminary LCAP in June, but then the state did waive the need for a formal LCAP requirement for the school year. And typically our LCAP has these three focus areas: academic achievement, supporting students, and then a culture of care. Kind of what is the overall culture on our school campuses and how are we taking care of the whole child? So the state now requires what they're calling a learning continuity and attendance plan. It cleverly has the same four letters, LCAP, which we call LCAP. So what I would like to do is to tell you the main areas that this document is broken into, and then how we're choosing to spend the funds. And then if there's anyone here that would like to give us input around, on those expenditures, things you're seeing, how we can improve that. We are proud of the program that we've put forward, but we're also always open to growing, to improving, to making it the very best we can for every student. So any feedback that you can give us on how to improve that, we are always open to. So the learning continuity and attendance plan is broken into the 6 main areas. So first of all, it looks at stakeholder engagement. How are we gathering input from a variety of people? Then it looks at learning. So distance learning, obviously what we're in right now, guaranteed that through December, starting some small group in-person things and looking at how we can support students as well. The third area being really mental health. How are we looking out for the social emotional well-being of our students? Pupil and family engagement. So ensuring that students are engaged in synchronous learning, and that there has been a big increase in that for the fall versus kind of the emergency plan that we needed to implement in the spring. And how are we keeping track of who's engaged and ensuring that students really stay engaged and families understand the engagement as well. Nutrition is the other piece. As you, I'm sure, have heard, Food Services has done an outstanding job of providing meal services for families in need of that. And then other or increased services is looking at how are we doing things that go above and beyond for students that are really needing it. Students in poverty, homeless students, English language learners that are just learning the language that are going to need additional supports. So here you're going to see a list of some of the ways that we are choosing to use these funds and some of the major expenditures you will notice. So daycare. Our board had the foresight to approve $600,000 to help support the cost of daycare cost. Devices, we've spent over $1 million purchasing devices that are needed for students and staff in order to operate in this distance learning format. Hotspots, so obviously a hotspot allowing internet access per device. PPE, so as you well know, masks, gloves, all sorts of supplies like that that help ensure safety and wellness. Materials and supplies, kind of a general comment there, but lots of materials and supplies that are learning related, even health related, plexiglass, things like that. Online resources. So from the instructional department, they've looked at how many of these curricular resources could be in an e-format or in a digital format, increasing our licensing, et cetera. The virtual learning program, we've had a lot of expenditures there, but that is the guarantee of a full school year of distance learning. We've implemented a lot of extra staffing, so related to the virtual learning program, also related to support staff and other staffing that was needed, like counseling, marriage family therapist increase, understanding that there's going to be mental health and social emotional needs, as well as looking at an assessment system so that we can understand if there's been pupil learning loss and what we can do to be targeted about addressing that. So those are the major ways that we have used and are planning to use the expenditures. So that the question is kind of, what are the most impactful things? What is making a difference? What's helpful? What's your input on the expenditures? And what can we do to keep growing and improving? So I put that question out. I will stop sharing so that when there's people that would like to give input, they are welcome to. And then also just this reminder that this is also posted. So if someone sees this at a later date, I'm happy to gather input at that time as well. So at this time, Mr. Mayfield, do you have anything to add before we open up for questions?
Nope.
Anything I missed or anything? We're good? Okay. So if there's any questions out there about the expenditures, suggestions of how to improve programs, happy to hear from anyone. And Mandy, do you see any hands up?
No, there are no hands up at this point.
Okay. I see a limited number of participants, so that could be the issue this time. Let me give it just one more minute, and then I will wrap up of how you can find the survey and just a reminder of how you can always send us input as well.
I forget how to raise my hand on here, but
it worked. Go for it, Adam.
Is the Youth Truth Survey still being given to students this year? Or how are students being surveyed of their wellness this year?
Yeah, great question. Go ahead, Dr. Prater. Did you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, you bet. Yes, we're providing the Youth Truth Survey beginning in October, I believe, and just like we have over the last 3 years. And we've added a few more dimensions. One of them is has to do with this whole online environment.
Perfect.
And so you'll see that we're also doing something a little bit different this year, in that we typically have given the Youth Truth Survey for middle and high school. And this coming year, we're going to begin surveying students 3rd grade and up, as well as our teachers, our staff members, and parents.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're going to have different dimensions of data that should help us better understand kind of what's going on out there with students and with our employees as well as with parents. So we're hopeful to use this as a new baseline for our district moving forward.
Great. That sounds great. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, in addition, Adam, it's a great question. We are adding a social emotional learning screener that has 2 components. One is a self-reported, so students can say, you know, here's how I'm doing. personally. And then there's a teacher aspect of that. If they see anything concerning, that they can report, different needs that they're seeing for students so that they can make sure to get the help they need to.
That's great.
Great question. What's your take, Adam? Do you mind sharing what you're seeing as a need, what's going well, or what we can improve on?
Well, I'm doing the VLP, so I don't have a lot of, I haven't been seeing what's going on in the distance learning
Right.
side of it. Our meetings are scheduled for like a half an hour, but they last about 5 minutes. It's fine. It's good that they're getting in there, talking with the students, seeing how they are. Nobody really says anything. Everyone just kind of stares at each other with blank expressions. But nobody really ever speaks out either if they do have something to say. I think it's a little bit, I think they just feel uncomfortable with it.
It's awkward at first. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally understand that. So maybe we can continue to look for ways to engage students and to create a more comfortable setting so that kids do engage. It's probably a good idea. Yeah.
Some kind of like, well, not school created student engagement, but something that the school kind of puts on that helps students stay involved with each other and with the staff. Because I think a lot of students, especially in the VLP, don't really know their teachers that well. We had that one meeting that first introduced us to them, but other than that, I think most kids don't know the teachers very well. So more getting them comfortable with that, so that if they do have an issue or something, they do feel comfortable enough to speak out.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping the connections with counselors open and letting students know that they're available.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can do a better job of openly communicating that.
Yeah. I think it's what's being done now is fine, but I think more is always great.
Right. Good point.
Yeah. I think that's I think what I've always said. I've always had the same couple points that I think need to be addressed and that need to be I don't know, that need to be looked at.
Yeah.
I think those are those things. All right. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for your input. I love that.
Yeah.
Great.
There are no other hands up.
Okay. So we will go ahead and wrap up this one for today, and we will go ahead and post this information. If you see this at a later date, feel free to add your information either to the survey, or feel free to email. You can email me directly, and be happy to help you. Of course, your school site principal is always a great person to go to as well. So thank you very much, and we will see you at the next one.